or seeing a lot, I could take me being embarrassed. Like, just can't take nobody not saying nothing. Like, you know,
learning my lyrics really good so I could do them one time, you understand, straight down, and I didn't waste time.
A billionaire mogul refusing to take a paternity test, and a pop star facing major embarrassment over a quiet family scandal. One is accused of hiding a secret son for over 30 years. The other, trying to stay out of the spotlight while drama unfolds in his inner circle. These stories aren't just personal. They reveal how even the most carefully managed public images can unravel in an instant. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on two of the biggest behind-the-scenes celebrity dramas no one expected to surface in 2025. Because when private truths go public, the fallout is anything but ordinary. For more than a decade, one man has been chasing a truth he says the world deserves to know. Not for fame, not for money, but for something far more personal: identity.
Jay-Z allegedly won't give up his DNA to prove that he is not the father of Rymir Satterthwaite, who is claiming
his name is Rymir Satterthwaite, and according to him, he's the biological son of Jay-Z. It's a claim that sounds too wild to be true, the kind of rumor you'd scroll past online. But Rymir insists it's real. And now, after years of legal hurdles, media silence, and unanswered questions, his story is starting to gain traction in ways Jay-Z's team likely never expected. Let's go back to the beginning. According to court documents, Rymir believes his mother, Wanda Satterthwaite, had a brief relationship with Jay-Z in the early 1990s, long before he became a household name. Shortly after, Wanda became pregnant, but Jay-Z allegedly refused to acknowledge the possibility that he was the father. No DNA test was ever taken.
So there's Jay-Z and Rymir's lawsuit case paternity test that he's trying to get Jay-Z to be a part of.
Fast forward decades later, Rymir is now a grown man. His mother has passed away, but the questions never left him, and neither did the feeling that the truth had been kept just out of reach. So he started filing, and filing, and filing. Lawsuits were brought in New Jersey, petitions were submitted, interviews were done. At every turn, Rymir says he was met with resistance. From the legal system, from opposing attorneys, and from the infrastructure surrounding one of the most powerful entertainment figures on the planet. To be clear, Jay-Z has never publicly acknowledged Rymir, nor taken a court-ordered DNA test. His legal team claims this is all part of a long-running campaign to harass and damage his reputation.
Be doing so much and running, and it just really dawned on me. It's the man that my mom was underage.
And they've consistently moved to shut the case down. But here's where things get strange. Despite the lawsuits being dismissed on technical grounds, not due to lack of evidence, but due to jurisdictional issues, Rymir has continued to push forward. He's even filed new paperwork in federal court as recently as 2025, determined to have his case heard in a setting he believes can no longer be ignored. What's more, he's not asking for child support, he's not asking for inheritance. He says all he wants is a fair test, a single swab, a DNA result, proof, one way or another, of whether the man the world knows as Jay-Z is truly his father. And in a digital age where speculation spreads faster than facts,
but then the sample could be used to solve a whole bunch of killings that the rapper has been hinted at being involved in. And again,
the images of the two side by side have only fueled the fire. Rymir has released multiple photos of himself alongside images of Jay-Z, and depending on who you ask, the resemblance is either uncanny or entirely coincidental. But public opinion doesn't settle court cases. And that's exactly why this one keeps dragging on. With every delay, with every sealed record, with every motion to dismiss, the mystery grows. Why not just take the test? Why allow a years-long narrative to build up if it's all untrue? Is there more to this than either side is letting on? Or is this just one man chasing a connection that never existed? Whatever the answer is, it's clear that Rymir won't stop. Because for him, this isn't a scandal.
If Jay-Z was guilty of being that man's dad, he would have been taking the test. You stupid, sexy, beautiful, dumb.
It's family. And the fight for that truth is only just beginning. At first glance, it seems simple. A man asks for a DNA test, a yes or no, a swab and a lab result. But the deeper you go into this case, the more tangled and troubling it becomes. Raymir Satterthwaite has been trying to take this paternity claim to court for over a decade. But each time he gets close to a real legal breakthrough, the process changes course. Documents go missing. Judges cite technicalities. Jurisdiction gets challenged, and the door closes again. In 2010, Raymir first filed a paternity case in New Jersey, but it was dismissed.
If you're not the father, why you ain't just get this done and over with? You know, my mom was a dancer. She used to go to a couple concerts with our friends and basically.
The reason? Procedural issues. Not because the claim lacked merit, but because of how the case was filed. Since then, no judge has ordered Jay-Z to take a DNA test. Not once. Despite repeated requests and court filings, the question has never reached the point of a conclusive answer. And that's exactly what's raised eyebrows. Because if someone spent over 10 years asking for something as simple as a test, and the answer was genuinely no connection, wouldn't you want to put it to rest? One clean result, case closed, done. But instead, what we've seen is a pattern. Sealed court records, delayed hearings, and conflicting rulings across jurisdictions.
Another day, another rapper. Y'all get in here, because I got some tea to spill for y'all today, okay? So, allegedly, Jay-Z...
At one point, Raymir even claimed that key documents had disappeared, including paperwork that would have linked his mother to Jay-Z at the time of conception. Even more strange, multiple legal filings by Raymir have alleged that outside forces, legal teams, private firms, or unnamed officials have made it harder for him to pursue his case. He believes his access to justice has been restricted, intentionally. Now, to be clear, Jay-Z's team denies all of this. They say the case is based on false claims and that the courts have already dismissed it on valid legal grounds. They argue that Raymir is using the legal system to gain attention or push a narrative, not because there's truth behind it, but because the celebrity target draws headlines.
Really do. And if it's not, why you can't prove me wrong? Like, it's not as far as a proving me wrong thing. It's go.
But here's the catch. None of that explains the lingering question. Why not just take the test? For someone as image conscious, as calculated, and as powerful as Jay-Z, someone who has built a billion-dollar brand on control, the ongoing silence has only made things more suspicious. And the more people dig, the more they wonder if the legal maneuvers are less about protecting innocence and more about controlling the narrative. Because this isn't just a court case anymore. It's become a public mystery, one that's gathering attention across social media, legal blogs, and mainstream headlines alike. And the longer it remains unsolved, the more it feels like something is being hidden.
His son, his mother would have only been 14 at the time that he impregnated her, which is not a good look either. The permanent...
What began as a personal request for truth now looks more like a slow-motion showdown between a man chasing his origins and a system that seems determined to outlast him. But here's the part no one's talking about. The longer this drags on, the more people start to believe there's something to hide. And that belief, it spreads faster than any lawsuit ever could. While headlines focus on court filings and celebrity names, one thing often gets overlooked: the person at the center of it all. For Raymir Satterthwaite, this isn't just a lawsuit, it's his life. He's spent over a decade navigating legal systems, submitting paperwork, and publicly fighting for a truth that, in his eyes, could finally answer a question he's carried since childhood. Who am I, really?
Said that she had relations with 2 men during her time when she was 16. A man that he was named...
He says he's not after money. He's not chasing fame. What he wants is something most people take for granted: the right to know who his father is. Imagine living with the possibility that one of the most powerful men in the world is your biological parent. But every attempt to prove it gets blocked, delayed, or dismissed. Imagine seeing someone celebrated on global stages while you're stuck trying to get your story heard in courtrooms that don't want to listen. And through all of it, there's been silence. No phone call, no private meeting, no olive branch, just lawyers, motions, and closed doors. In recent interviews, Raymir has opened up about what this fight has done to him. He's described feeling invisible, like his story doesn't matter simply because of who he's up against.
it looks bad on his reputation, because he has a history. Like, if you look at, like, even...
He's talked about sleepless nights, emotional burnout, and the strain of constantly reliving his past in the hopes of one day being acknowledged. He's not just seeking a name on paper, he's seeking validation. The kind that doesn't come from a headline or a trending hashtag, but from a simple truth being recognized out loud. Even if Jay-Z isn't his father, Ramirez says he'll accept that. He's not afraid of being wrong. He's afraid of never knowing. And for a lot of people watching this unfold, that's where the empathy kicks in. Because whether you believe Ramirez or not, it's clear that he believes his story. And he's been willing to risk public judgment, online mockery, and legal roadblocks to keep chasing it.
He is Jay-Z's son and has recently accused the rapper of abusing the legal system to avoid a paternity test.
The emotional weight of that? You can't put that into legal language. And maybe that's the part that hits hardest. The idea that one person's search for truth could be seen as inconvenient, just because the answer might make someone else uncomfortable. Because when the stakes are this personal, the silence becomes more than a strategy. It becomes its own form of rejection. While one music icon battles questions about identity and legacy, another is facing a very different kind of storm, one that's quietly unfolded without a single word from him. This time, the focus shifts to Zayn Malik, the former One Direction star turned solo artist who spent the past few years out of the spotlight, rebuilding his life and reputation after a series of public ups and downs.
Pedophile. That's why Jay-Z does not want this case to be getting out in the open or whatever. But Ramirez, he needed...
But recently, headlines began to swirl. Not about Zayn directly, but about someone very close to him. That someone is Martin Tyser, who is married to Zayn's younger sister, Safiya Malik. And the story surrounding him has put Zayn's name back in conversations he never asked to be part of. Reports surfaced that Martin was involved in a serious legal situation, the kind of situation that tends to follow families, even when the person at the center isn't a public figure. Fans immediately reacted with concern, confusion, and speculation. Why hadn't Zayn commented? What was going on within the Malik family? Was Zayn even in contact with his sister? It wasn't the first time people questioned the dynamic.
Jailed, guess what for? Rug dealing. What the fuck? Dealing rugs.
Back in 2019, when Safa and Martin got married, Zayn didn't attend the wedding. At the time, the reasons were unclear. Some said he was traveling. Others suggested he was distancing himself from drama. But now, that absence is being looked at in a whole new light. People are starting to wonder, did Zayn know something before the rest of the world did? Despite the headlines, Zayn has remained silent. No statements, no social media posts, no public defense or distancing. Just quiet. But in the world of celebrity families, silence doesn't go unnoticed. And for someone like Zayn, who spent years trying to protect his privacy, rebuild his mental health, and avoid unnecessary drama.
A dealer from Bradford who helped her run a notorious drugs line has been locked up. Martin.
This kind of story is exactly what he didn't need. Because while he may have had nothing to do with this situation, the connection alone is enough to raise questions. Not just about family ties, but about how much a public figure should be expected to answer for the people around them. Is it fair to judge someone for someone else's choices? Or is that just the price of fame? What we do know is this. Zayn's worked hard to stay out of controversy. He's been low profile, focused on fatherhood, music, and mental clarity. But now, a story tied to his last name, even if indirectly, threatens to pull him back into the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. And just like with Jay-Z, it leaves fans asking one very familiar question.
Born former boy bander put the olive branch out there, and it looks like the band could get back together for a...
Why won't he say something? In today's world, a scandal doesn't stay quiet for long. Not when social media is watching, analyzing, and posting in real time. And while Jay-Z and Zayn Malik have remained completely silent, everyone else is talking. The internet has done what it does best, turned mystery into movement. On one side, you've got fans of Ramirez Satterthwaite demanding that Jay-Z take a DNA test. Not because they know the outcome, but because they believe he has a right to know. Entire threads on Reddit, TikTok, and Twitter are dedicated to comparing side-by-side photos, tracking court filings, and sharing Rymeer's story with captions like, "At this point, the silence says more than a DNA test ever could."
And Rymeer Satterthwaite. And the related headline reads, "Who is Rymeer Satterthwaite? Meet the man claiming to be Jay-Z's son."
Others defend Jay-Z, saying the case was dismissed for a reason and shouldn't be rehashed in public. But even those comments only add fuel to the fire, because now the issue isn't just about paternity, it's about perception. And perception spreads fast. Meanwhile, the conversation around Zayn Malik is more conflicted. His fans are divided. Some are defending his right to keep personal family matters private, especially since he wasn't directly involved. Others say that in a moment like this, staying silent creates doubt, and doubt invites controversy. It's a lose-lose, because in the court of public opinion, what you don't say often matters more than what you do.
But the house that they raided is not his sister's house. So have they sold that and he's used the money to do anything else?
And that's the dangerous game both celebrities are stuck in. Not because they've been proven guilty of anything, but because in a world where narratives move faster than facts, controlling the silence isn't always the same as controlling the story. Pop culture thrives on open loops, on cliffhangers, on stories that make people scroll, comment, and share, especially when there's no official explanation. And that's what both of these stories have become. An unconfirmed paternity claim that refuses to disappear. A family drama quietly circling a global pop star who just wants peace. In the age of viral truth-seeking, it doesn't matter if something is proven. If it feels unresolved, it is.
And plaintiffs continue to harass the defendant and disregard those orders that have already resulted in a contempt order.
And that's why the pressure keeps building. Not just for answers, but for closure. Because whether you're a billionaire mogul or a private celebrity trying to move on, the internet never forgets an open-ended story. In both stories, Jay-Z's alleged secret son and Zayn Malik's quiet family scandal, one thing stands out more than anything else. No one's talking, there's no interview, no tweet, no carefully crafted statement from a publicist. Just silence. And at first, that might seem like the smart move. After all, saying nothing leaves less room for headlines, speculation, or accidental slips. But here's the thing, that strategy doesn't work anymore.
It was because I was young and, had my little brother and I really wasn't worrying about it. She was saying it a lot, but
Because in today's culture, silence doesn't read as professional. It reads as defensive, as suspicious, as if there's something you don't want to deal with, because it might be true. And that's exactly what's been happening. The longer Jay-Z avoids addressing Rymeer's claims, the more people assume the worst. Why spend more than a decade fighting a DNA test? When one simple answer could end the conversation forever? Why protect your legacy at the cost of a man's identity? And in Zayn's case, even though the scandal wasn't about him directly, the silence still leaves a mark. It makes people question the kind of people he surrounds himself with. It makes fans wonder whether his desire for privacy is genuine.
Around £15,000. So, Tizer, he was jailed and he's been jailed for...
Or just a way to dodge difficult topics. It's not that fans expect celebrities to be perfect. In fact, they don't. They expect honesty, they expect accountability, and above all, they expect transparency when the truth is clearly chasing them down. Because the relationship between public figures and their audiences has changed. It's no longer one-sided. People don't just consume stories, they investigate them. They screen record, deep dive, and cross-reference every sentence, every post, every photo. And when they notice you're staying quiet while something major unfolds, they don't wait for answers. They write their own. So when Jay-Z remains silent about someone who might be his son,
granted Rymeer's request to move forward with his case. Now, as for Jay, he's panicking right now, and he actually put out...
Or when Zayn Malik avoids acknowledging a family headline splashed across every feed. It doesn't matter what the truth actually is. It matters how their silence feels. And right now, it feels like they're hiding something. When you strip away the headlines, the viral moments, and the online debates, what's left are two stories that have nothing and everything in common. One is about a man looking for answers from someone who's built an empire on staying untouchable. The other is about a star trying to stay far away from drama, only to find it knocking on his family's front door. But both stories reveal something deeper about the world we live in now. Fame doesn't protect you from questions, and silence doesn't protect you from consequences.
Because of Ramirez's dad, remember, that means he did it with her at the age of 14, and he was way above the age.
For years, celebrities could count on privacy as a shield. If they ignored a problem long enough, it would eventually fade. But now, that's no longer how things work. Today, the audience is paying attention. People notice when stories feel unfinished. They notice when something doesn't sit right. And they keep asking questions until someone finally answers. This isn't just about Jay-Z. It's not just about Zayn Malik. It's about every powerful person who's ever assumed that control meant silence, and that silence meant safety. But as we've seen, silence has its own volume. It makes people dig deeper. It makes every unanswered detail louder, and it turns what could have been a quiet resolution into a public spectacle. So where does that leave us? With a truth that might make some people uncomfortable? When you're in the spotlight, you don't get to choose which parts of your life are seen. That might not seem fair, but for the people affected, the families, the fans, and the ones still searching for closure, it's reality. And whether it's a paternity test or a family scandal left unspoken, the truth doesn't disappear just because someone refuses to speak it. So what happens now? Maybe nothing, or maybe everything. Because in the court of public opinion, the real verdict is never handed down in courtrooms. It's written in comments, reposts, and whispers that never quite fade. At the heart of both stories, Jay-Z's silence and Zayn Malik's distance, is the same unsettling truth. When powerful people say nothing, the world fills in the blanks for them. One man is chasing answers about his identity. Another is caught in the ripple effects of someone else's choices. Neither asked to be in the spotlight for this, but silence became the story anyway. And maybe that's the biggest takeaway. Because in 2025, not responding doesn't make a scandal disappear. It just gives it room to grow. So whether you're someone who believes Rymir deserves the truth, or someone who wonders what Zayn's really thinking behind closed doors, one thing is clear. In a world where secrets spread faster than statements, silence might be the loudest answer of all.